Naruto sighed as he saw the puddle. He knew it. Ever since they'd left the village 2 days ago, Tazuna had been jumpy and wary, like he expected to get attacked. Now this puddle. It hadn't rained in a week. There shouldn't be a puddle. He heard movement and then two figures busted out of the water. The ensnared Kakashi, or rather, Kakashi substituted logs, and then destroyed Kakashi in a spray of blood. Naruto sped forward and the first man fell quickly with a slash of his sword. The next man was smashed into the tree, and he crumpled to the ground in a heap. Naruto stalked over to him as he tried to get up and slammed his throat into the tree, before he caught the man's eyes and activated his Sharingan. "What are you doing here?" The man seemed to fight his Sharingan a minute, and then he gave in. "We were to eliminate Tazuna the bridge builder for Gato for 1,000,000 yen. Naruto's Sharingan deactivated, and he stabbed the man through the throat, letting his lifeless body go. He wiped the blood from his sword on the man's trousers and then turned back to the others, who were looking at him in shock. Kakashi dropped down from the tree above and looked at Naruto in curiosity, before he turned to Tazuna with a glare. "Explain." Tazuna gulped, but Naruto made a show of sheathing his blade and leaving his hand on the hilt, ready to draw. He finally spoke. "Gato is trying to stop me from building a bridge from the wave to the mainland because it will ruin his illegal cargo shipments. Our country is too broke to get the proper rank, so we, sort of, cheated. This is at least a B rank mission. Do you want us all dead? These ninjas are fresh from the academy, not ready for B rank. Are you trying to get them killed?" No, but please. We really need your help." Naruto sighed. "We should help him, Kakashi-sensei. You did say that we were capable of doing a B rank mission, and he obviously needs help." Kakashi looked at him a minute and then sighed. "All right, we continue the mission. Let's go." The next attack was of a more powerful foe. Naruto grabbed his team and threw them to the ground, while Kakashi grabbed Tazuna. Naruto then darted his hand up and grabbed the hilt of the long blade as it spun over his head. He caught it with a small grunt and then flung it back at its owner. It was caught by a tall man with bandages covering the lower half of his face and upper part of his shoulders. He smirked. "So one of you is able to wield my Kubikiribocho. Impressive. Tell me, boy, what's your name?" "Naruto Uzumaki." "Yours?" "Zabuza Mamachi, the bloody demon of the mist." Kakashi gasped. "He's out of your range, Naruto. Move aside. I'll take care of him." Zabuza looked at Kakashi and gained an evil grin. "Copy Ninja Kakashi. I wanted to see you. I want to kill you." Kakashi fell into a ready stance and lifted his Hitae to reveal a Sharingan. I won't let you pass. I won't let you hurt my team." The team stepped back, though Naruto watched warily in case he needed to intervene. Then the battle started. Same as in canon. Don't want to rewrite that. Sorry, sad face. When the battle was over, Naruto watched the strange hunter Nin take the body away in suspicion. In Indra's days, the hunter Nins had destroyed the body then and there. He didn't have time to ponder this when Kakashi collapsed from chakra depletion, and he had to catch him. He hefted the man on his back and looked at Sasuke. "Can you carry Tazuna? I want to travel the ninja way with Kakashi-sensei out of commission." Sasuke nodded and turned to the bridge builder. "Get on my back and tell us where your house is. Sakura, guard the back." Sakura nodded and Tazuna climbed onto the Uchiha, before they took off again. Tazuna led the way until they arrived at a small village a few hours' travel away. He led them to his house and Sasuke set him down. He led the way in and offered the guest room for Kakashi to be placed. Naruto nodded. "Thank you. Sensei needs rest, but we will guard you until then. Rest assured. I have not yet shown my true abilities, and neither has Sasuke." Tazuna nodded, looking away. "Thank you for convincing your sensei to continue with the mission. I would be dead if you hadn't, and this really is the only way to save my village." Naruto shook his head. "Don't thank me. It was the right thing to do, therefore I did it. Tazuna sighed, I think that I've underestimated you, kid. Oh, why? You seem wise beyond the years of a teenager, and I saw how easily you took care of those two ninjas that first attacked us. Naruto was silent for a moment, then, you're right. I'm holding back, a lot. Not even my team knows what I am truly capable of. Now, it's late. May we stay in here with Kakashi-sensei for at least the night? Of course. My daughter would have my hide if I didn't allow that. Naruto nodded, thank you, Tazuna-san. Come eat dinner. I'm sure Tsunami has already made enough. Naruto smiled now, all right. Oh. Sakura looked at Kakashi in confusion, tree walking? We can climb trees easily. I said tree walking, not tree climbing. As he said this, he walked up the side of the tree they were in front of, and then threw kunai at their feet, mark when you feel like you're going to fall. Naruto picked his up with a smirk, hey Sasuke, look, 2 new kunais. Thanks Kakashi-sensei. What? Oh, Sasuke and I already know this ability along with water walking and leaf balancing. Kakashi's visible eye widened in shock, what? Yeah, we have excellent chakra control. Say, can we train on our own on something else instead? Sure. What? A secret ability of mine that I've offered to teach Sasuke. It's rather private, so I'd prefer if we could do it in private. Kakashi seemed uncertain, but he nodded, nothing too dangerous, all right? There's no good hospitals nearby. Naruto nodded, all right. I promise it won't affect us that badly. Go ahead then. Sakura, let's get started. Naruto led Sasuke off into the forest until they arrived in a small clearing filled with flowers, where Naruto sat down and gestured for Sasuke to do the same across from him. He spoke, now, I don't know if you've noticed, but when you saw me die, you awakened what is known as the Manjikyu Sharingan. Sasuke gasped, the eyes Itachi has? Yes, but all Manjikyu are different. Now, there is a couple powers the Manjikyu hold. One is Amaterasu, or unquenchable flames. They will burn and never die out unless you will them to with your eyes. A second ability is Tsukuyomi, or the perfect illusion. It holds you in a world that the Sharingan user created, and it will hold you there for 72 hours, which in reality is 3 seconds in the real world. The user may do whatever they wish, as it is their created world. Sasuke gasped, like what Itachi did to me? Yes, that was Tsukuyomi. Now, another ability is Susanoo. Susanoo is a warrior that cannot be pierced. Each Susanoo holds a sword that will put your enemy in a permanent genjutsu for the rest of their lives. They will be in a coma forever. The next power is Kamui, or the ability to manipulate space and time. It essentially allows you to create a bend or ripple in space. It will allow you to travel to places immediately or be untouchable, phasing people right through you. The last is Koto Amatsukami, and it is the ultimate illusion. It goes into the minds of whoever it is used on and change their memories, making them see whatever the caster wishes them to see, making it seem as if it actually happened. It can change someone completely. However, it is a very strong technique and can only be used once every 10 years, unless you have the DNA of Hashirama Senju. Sasuke's eyes widened. I remember Itachi and Shursui mentioning that ability. Shursui had that ability with his eyes. Is there any way to find out my abilities? Yes, but all of this comes with a warning. Unless you are me, you will eventually go blind with the overuse of your eyes. There is only one way to reverse this. If you implant the Manjikyu of a brother or brother-like figure, it will grant you the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan and you won't go blind. Sasuke gasped and touched below his eyes, I'll go blind? Only of overuse. You needn't worry if you only use it in emergencies. Sasuke nodded, alright, so can we find out what I can do? Activate your eyes as far as you can go and look into my eyes. Don't freak out. I will not use any illusions to trick you. Sasuke nodded and pushed chakra into his eyes until they swirled into his Manjikyu Sharingan. Naruto did the same and then looked into Sasuke's eyes and pushed chakra into the ability only he had. Only he could divine the true powers of a Sharingan without seeing it in action. After a few minutes, he pulled away. You have the ability to use Susanoo, a perfect Susanoo. You can also use Amaterasu, and you have a very small ability for a weak Tsukuyomi. Don't be disheartened by the small number. Most Sharingan user have only 2 abilities with their Manjikyu. I am the only one that can use all of them. Sasuke nodded and Naruto smiled. Would you like to try some of these abilities out? A small amount of use will not harm you, and it's better you know how to use them for an emergency. Sasuke smiled and nodded, yeah. Alright, focus on that rock over there. Imagine it being enveloped in black flames, burning it to nothing but ash. I'll try, Naruto-sensei. Naruto grumbled about smart-ass friends and Sasuke smirked before he did as his friend had said. The rock caught on fire and burned until nothing remained and Naruto smiled, perfect. Next is the Susanoo. Now, we don't want it to be seen by anyone, so just focus on your torso being wrapped in unbreakable armor that wraps around you, obeys you. Sasuke nodded and closed his eyes, taking a deep breath. A moment later, there was a purple glow that turned into the skeleton of a large warrior, waist up, holding a sword. Naruto clapped, great job. Now, drop it, and we'll move on to the last one. Sasuke smiled, yes. I'm doing great so far. Naruto smiled, I am going to deactivate my Sharingan and lower my barriers. Try to cast an illusion on me, anything you wish. Sasuke nodded and Naruto's eyes returned to dark blue, before he looked at Sasuke's eyes. Sasuke pushed an illusion forcefully out and Naruto looked around to see crows on the trees around him. The grass had turned brown in death and the trees were barren. He looked and saw Sasuke smirking, I got you. Naruto flared his chakra, destroying the genjutsu and clapped again, great job. You're a natural. If I didn't have the Sharingan, I would have been trapped. Sasuke nodded and then swayed, whoa, I'm dizzy now. Naruto caught him as he fell, deactivate your Sharingan. The first time always takes the most chakra. Great job, but let's get you some rest. Sasuke nodded again and his eyes darkened to black. Naruto supported him until they got to Tazuna's house and Kakashi stopped them. What's wrong with him? It's nothing. He's low on chakra because of the technique we were practicing, though he did do an amazing job. It's always the most chakra draining on the first time. Kakashi looked at Sasuke worriedly and the Uchiha waved, yeah, just tired. I want to hit the sack. Naruto nodded, let's get you to bed and I'll wake you up for dinner. Sasuke acquiesced and Naruto took him to his room. He walked back out and was about to leave the house when a little blur ran up to him. You're just going to die. It's no use. Gado's too strong. You should just leave. Naruto looked down to see an angry boy by his feet and he looked at him with a raised eyebrow, excuse me? You're just going to die. Gado is too strong. You don't even know pain. You've probably lived a pampered life. Naruto's face grew cold and his voice sounded colder than the Arctic. What, you little brat? I said you've never known pain. Naruto's killing intent skyrocketed. You think that you know pain? My parents died the day I was born, murdered by a demon to save me. Then, for my entire life, I was told that they had abandoned me because no one wanted a demon brat. I was hated, scorned, crucified, stabbed, beat, starved, and you think that you know pain? I know of your dad. I heard, but at least you had him for a small amount of time. I never knew my parents. Sasuke's entire family was murdered by his big brother when he was 8, right in front of him, and then he was tortured as he was forced to watch it over and over again. Kakashi-sensei's father committed suicide because he had put his team in front of a mission, and he didn't want his son disgraced. So don't tell me that we don't know pain. Get over yourself. I get it. Your dad died doing what was right. So did mine. So did Kakashi's. So get over that no one's felt my pain shit right now. I will not accept it. I won't listen to some little brat tell me that I don't know pain. The kid's eyes were wide in shock. That happened to you. That happened to all of you? Yes, it did. Every word I spoke was the truth. I don't lie. The boy's eye grew watery, and he ran away, and Naruto closed his eyes and pinched his nose, breathing deeply in and out for a few minutes to control his temper. He finally calmed down and left the house, leaving a shocked bridge builder that had heard the whole thing behind. That night, Tazuna approached him while he was staring out the window. Hey, kid? Naruto didn't even turn, yes? All of what you said to my grandson was true. Naruto sighed. Yes, it was. All of it. Tell the little gaki that I'm sorry for yelling, but I can't stand when people act like they got the worst of everything when they have no idea. Tazuna was silent a moment. I'm sorry that all of that happened to you. It's fine. I get it. The world is cruel. It's nothing. The few friends that I've made helped me through all of that. Tazuna sighed and nodded. All right. It's nice to see that some people can rise above all of that and be as kind-hearted as you. It helps restore my faith in humanity. I'm glad. Good night, Tazuna-san. Tazuna nodded and left, leaving Naruto staring out the window and one awake Sakura crying silently. She had heard what Naruto had said to the boy, and she realized that she had the best of their entire team. At least she had a mother and father. Kakashi watched the house in a tree, and he sighed as he saw the lone figure sitting in the window, his blonde and black hair highlighted in the moonlight. What had that boy been through? He'd heard of Naruto's life, sure, but not all that. He'd stayed away from the boy when he needed it most, only to avoid getting hurt. Now, Naruto had become a great person, but he knew that his happiness was only partially a mask. He was lonely and hurt. Minato-sensei wouldn't have wanted that for his son. He'd wanted him to be seen as a hero, and he'd been seen as the opposite. He didn't even know his parents. He thought a moment, hesitant about the decision he'd just made. Should he tell the boy? He'd seen him fight. He'd taken down 2 Chunin-level opponents and gotten information. He still didn't know how he'd done that, plus he'd caught Zabuza's blade as if it was a normal katana, before he flung it back. He was powerful, that was for sure. Kakashi knew that he'd only seen a small amount of Naruto's power. For some reason, he felt as if the boy was hiding his true power. Why, he didn't know, but it was a gut feeling that Naruto was more than what he was showing. He jumped to the window and Naruto looked at him. Hello, Kakashi-sensei. Is it my shift? No, but please come with me for a minute, Naruto. Naruto nodded and stood, before they both jumped down and Kakashi took him to where the occupants of the house could not hear it. Listen to me, Naruto. I am not supposed to reveal what I am about to tell you until you're a Chunin. However, I see that you're holding back. How much, I don't know, but definitely Chunin level. Naruto nodded, looking confused. What? Your parents' true identities. Naruto froze in shock and looked at Kakashi in hope. Kakashi nodded. Their names were Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. Naruto, your father was the Yondaime Hokage. Naruto gasped. The fourth Hokage was my father? Yes, he was. He was a brilliant man. He was gentle, kind, caring, strong, and he cared for you deeply. The night that he was forced to seal the fox in you, he was crying. Minato-sensei never cries, never. For him to be crying, what he had to do broke his heart, but it was the only choice. Naruto's eyes teared up. He cared about me? He didn't hate me? No, Naruto, he didn't. He loved you very much, as did your mother. The tears fell and Kakashi wrapped his arms around Naruto, letting him cry against his chest. It lasted for about an hour, before Naruto sniffled and relaxed into his arms. He felt, more than saw, the blonde fall asleep and he sighed, before he picked him up and carried him to his bed. All in all, he was glad he'd told the boy about his parents. The way he'd reacted, it hurt Kakashi's heart. He'd thought that Minato had hated him, when in reality he was, to Kakashi-sensei, his life, his sunshine. They decorated him a room, named him ahead of time, listened to him as he grew in Kushina's body, celebrated their child, and then had it all ripped away. He looked up at the moon through the window, and then to the stars, before he spoke in a near-silent whisper, "Minato, I hope you can see the man your son's become. You would be proud, sensei. I hope you're happy." Cammy looked down as the one-eyed man told the boy of his parents, and then she went down to earth. She touched the blonde boy's forehead and watched his memories, all of them, including Indra Otsutsuki's. Naruto had indeed lived a hard life, very hard indeed. Indra's life had been filled with loss and the search for revenge, but Naruto had somehow overcome this with only his 12 years of life. He'd changed Indra's entire perspective on life. She tapped her chin and the boy shifted lightly, muttering the word Dad in his sleep. She heard "Miss you, Dad." And she sighed. Oh, Shinigami was right. She was too soft. She didn't meddle in the world of the living often, but this boy's destiny was to defeat the greatest danger the elemental nations had ever faced. She should help him. He would go through a lot of stress and pain in the future, and he could have at least this. She went back to the realm of the gods and found Shinigami waiting for her. The male death god sighed. "Let me guess, you want the soul of Minato Namake's?" She smiled and blushed. Yeah, I was hoping that you'd give it to me." "You're too soft, Cammy." "I know, but you know that I only meddle in the mortal plane when there's a very big threat coming, which is only once every 1,000 years. Shinigami crossed his arms. He gave his soul to me. It's mine." Cammy sighed and put on her sad face. "Please, I really want him. You wouldn't refuse your wife, would you? Please, Shini." Shinigami was indecisive and his wife looked up at him. "You get to choose dinner for the next 100 years if you do this. Please, Shini. This is when I want to meddle. It's been since the Sage of Six Paths that I've had my fun in the mortal plane." Shinigami sighed and slumped. Damn his wife. He was too soft on her, but who could refuse that sad face? Certainly not him. Besides, she was right. She hadn't done her fun in the mortal plane in over 1,000 years. Fine, I'll do it. Damn, he was my favorite too. Oh well. Here, Cammy dear. He reached into his mouth and pulled out a man-shaped form that he dropped to the ground. It groaned and sat up, rubbing its head. That was disgusting. Where am I? Cammy came forward and pulled him to his feet. You are in the realm of the gods, Minato Namake's, because I am granting your son a gift. His attention immediately snapped to her. And my son? Naruto? Is he okay? Calm down. He's fine. Watch what I show you, and you will understand why I wish to grant Naruto a wish. A scene appeared on a screen, floating midair. It showed a little blonde boy getting chased by a mob, beat, stabbed, tortured, and starved. Next it showed the same little boy crying on the ground under a scraggly blanket with a picture of a man, a woman, and a child held in his hand, obviously hand-drawn. The woman had long red hair and the man had blonde hair, while the boy had blonde hair and was holding the other two figures' hands. He was whispering little words to his mommy and daddy, asking if they'd really abandoned him. Minato's eyes teared up. Oh no, Naruto, no. We didn't abandon you. We never wanted to leave you. You were our sunshine. I'm so sorry, Naruto, so sorry. The scenes continued. The boy running through the streets chased by an angry mob. The people teaming up against him. The cruel words and harsh punishments. The fear. The anger. He watched as a shop owner threw him a mask and called him a demon and told him to leave. He watched as the boy cleaned up a mess he made and someone called him a that. He ran away, crying. He watched as he was purposefully taught wrong to make him the dead last of the year. He watched as he was forced to catch his own food and live on the streets when the orphanage kicked him out repeatedly. They still continued and Minato fell to his knees. No, no, no. I'm so sorry, Naruto. Please, please. I'm so sorry, son, so sorry. Tears ran down his face and dripped to the ground below, but he watched his son's pain, feeling that it was his duty. It was his fault. He watched as, even through all the pain and suffering, the abuse, his son became a bright and happy boy, loyal to his village. Naruto graduated the academy, and no one congratulated him besides Sasuke, his Uchiha friend and fellow orphan. Naruto died and was brought back. Kakashi, the pink-haired girl, Sasuke. What they had gone through in their first mission so far. Naruto's words, his speech to the boy. Kami came over to him, and he looked up at her, his eyes red from crying. What have I done? What have I done to my son? He doesn't deserve this, no. I'm sorry, Naruto. She reached down and grabbed his chin, tilting his head. Minato, I'm sending you back. Minato's eyes widened. What? I am sending you back to be with your son. Your life is a gift to Naruto for what he's gone through and what he will go through, and yet he will persevere. You will be reunited with Naruto. Minato gasped. I get to try and fix what I've done? I get to see my son? Say sorry? Yes. I am going to revive you in Naruto's apartment. He will be back from his mission in a week and a half. What you do is your decision. I'll stay hidden until he returns home. I want him to be the first to see me. She nodded. Good choice. I wish you a happy life with your son, Minato Namikaze. Treasure him. Protect him. Show him love and kindness. He needs a father's love. I will. Thank you. Thank you for giving me this chance. Do not thank me. Live for your son. Goodbye. Naruto sighed as he felt Zabuza's chakra again. He'd known it. The man was still alive. That was too easy of a death for someone so powerful. He looked at Sasuke. He's here, Sasuke. So he was alive? Yes, I knew there was something suspicious. You ready? Sasuke cracked his knuckles. Born ready, Naruto. Good, this'll be a pain and I might be forced to reveal my special ability. If that happens, you will be joining me. Kakashi looked between them. You guessed it as well? Yeah, we knew Zabuza had to still be alive. That hunter Nin should have killed him straight out, not taken his body. Kakashi nodded. I thought the same thing. Well, if it isn't the little ninjas again. Nice to see you once more. I look forward to seeing you dead at my hands, Kakashi. Let's get started. Haku. The bridge builder. A female voice spoke. Yes, Zabuza-sama. Right away. Naruto's eyes narrowed. Guard Tazuna. Sasuke, let's take down this fake hunter. Of course, Naruto. You won't be able to. You'll die. Ice style, ice mirrors. Mirrors of ice formed around them and Naruto's eyes narrowed further, watching as the girl sped from mirror. She thought he couldn't follow her? Foolish. His eyes activated. Let's destroy her quickly, Sasuke. Kakashi-sensei may need help. Right. Sasuke's eyes swirled into the Sharingan as well and Haku's eyes widened. How? How do they both have fully evolved Sharingan? How is this possible? I heard there were only 2 Uchihas left and I've seen Itachi Uchiha. Neither one is that man. So how is this possible? Shit. I won't be able to beat them. No. I have to try for Zabuza-sama's sake. The blonde pulled a katana out and watched her as she sped around. A small amused smile made its way onto his face. I can see you, Haku. I can follow your movements. You think you can win? Foolish girl. Nothing escapes my eyes. I am the first wielder of the Sharingan, Indra Otsutsuki. Nothing is out of view for these eyes. Her eyes widened in shock and horror. This was Indra Otsutsuki? The eldest son of the Sage of Six Paths? How? She couldn't win against that man. Indra Otsutsuki was known as the fastest man alive when he wanted to. She gasped as a fireball hit the mirror she was in and sped to another one. Your fire can't melt my mirrors. Nothing can. He pointed at where she'd been, really? She turned to see that wherever the fireball had splashed across the ice, it had melted it completely. How? How did you do that? No chakra can melt these mirrors. Ahead of yourself, aren't you? I used nature chakra, which I have gathered in my staff the entire time I've had it. There's quite a store there, and nature chakra is the most potent of them all. So potent, that if you do not control it, you turn to stone. Shit. I can't win. I can't win. Another blast melts the mirror she was in, and she barely dodged, gaining a few burns as she does so. She saw the black-haired boy watching this with Sharingan active, not helping. Could Indra really take her on alone? She had no doubt. He didn't have a scratch and 4 of her mirrors had been melted, as well as taking injuries. She pulled out her senbon and started throwing them, just trying to keep moving so that he couldn't target her. All she needed was to gain time for Zabuza-sama until Kakashi and Tazuna were dead. The senbon were blocked and another fireball hurtled towards her. She dodged, barely missing again, as her mirrors are destroyed. She was down to half the original now, and he still wasn't even scratched. She was so outclassed that she could feel her death getting closer each second. One of these times, he would catch her and she'd be a goner. There was a crack and a cry of pain and Naruto's red eyes narrowed. That sounded like Kakashi. He would end this quickly. He started making hand seals and he looked at Sasuke. Use Susanoo or this will hurt. Sasuke's eyes widened and he was immediately surrounded by a purple warrior that shielded him as Naruto finished his seals. He slammed his hands into the ground, fire style, great fire wave of annihilation. Fire spread around him in a huge tidal wave that destroyed the remaining mirrors and sent Haku flying away, smoking. Sasuke dropped his Susanoo so that all of his abilities wouldn't be revealed right away. The fire died down and he looked at Naruto in shock. That was amazing. Naruto smiled, panting a little heavily from chakra drain. Yeah, I know. Madara Uchiha invented it, and since Indra's soul was in him, he learned it as well. That's great. Now let's help Kakashi-sensei. They rushed forward and saw Kakashi lying on the ground with a broken leg and a gash across his chest. Since there was blood, they knew it was a real body. Naruto went over to him and bent down, checking his pulse. Finding a steady one, he stood. Hey Zabuza. You wanted a copy ninja. How about I give you 2? Zabuza's voice came from the mist, sounding slightly surprised, too. Naruto smirked. Let's go, Sasuke. First real enemy. Let's have fun. Sasuke smirked as well and got ready, his Sharingan spinning. But first, let's clear away the mist, shall we? Wind style, wind scythe. He blew outwards and the mist all blew away in a big gust to reveal Zabuza standing on the water, looking at them in shock. Their heads lifted where he could see them, and his eyes shrunk to pinpricks as he saw two fully evolved Sharingan users. His skin went sheet white and he gasped, "How? I heard that there were only two Uchihas left, and I've seen Itachi Uchiha. You're not him." The blonde smirked. "Well, I might not be Itachi, but by the time I'm done with you, you'll wish I was, Zabuza Mamachi. Let's dance." Somewhere in the afterlife, Madara sneezed. Someone must have used my favorite phrase. Wonder who? Back to the fight. Naruto held out his staff and twirled it. A ball of energy started forming in the middle in front of his hands, and Zabuza's eyes widened as he felt pure chakra wash over him. The ball suddenly shot forward and smashed into his chest, sending him flying backwards to land in the water. Naruto spun and, before the man could react, threw a kunai that pierced Zabuza's shoulder. Just then he heard a scream and he spun to see the bridge covered in thugs. One of them had just buried their blade in the helpless Haku's stomach and twisted. Naruto's eyes narrowed. That wasn't going to happen on his watch. He sped forward and started ripping through the thugs, snapping necks, bisecting bodies, slitting throats, burning people alive. He reached Haku and grabbed her before he jumped back. He started making hand seals and the water rose up behind him, coming from the river, water style, tidal wave. The wave crashed down and washed most of the thugs into the river, where they drowned, not knowing how to swim. Now, Naruto fell to one knee, panting. He had used two major jutsus today, and his chakra was running low. He hadn't gained access to the fox's chakra yet, still having to speak to the demon about it. He felt movement and he spun to see a blade coming down on him. His eyes widened and it slashed across his chest. He cried out and fell backwards, landing on the ground, still panting from the jutsus. His vision started growing dark, and he saw a large form appear in front of him and start fighting the bandits, defending him. Blackness encompassed him. Zabuza spun at the sound of Haku's scream, and so did the man he was fighting. The man's eyes narrowed and he flashed down there and started cutting through the men to get to the injured kunoichi. Holy shit! He doesn't act like a genin. A genin wouldn't kill so effortlessly and ruthlessly. Haku! I have to save Haku! The kunoichi girl was like a surrogate daughter to him. He treated her like a tool in case he ever needed to leave her, she would be able to survive. But now she was injured and his enemy was rescuing her. He saw the man grab Haku and move her before he started doing hand seals. Suddenly a giant tidal wave rose up around the bridge and smashed into the mob, killing many and sending many to their deaths of drowning. He saw the Sharingan user fall to one knee, supporting himself with only his hand as he panted. His eyes widened as he saw a bandit approach the unsuspecting man. The man spun and his red eyes widened before the blade went across his chest and blood sprayed to the ground. He collapsed to his side, breathing raggedly, and Zabuza sped forward, pulling Kubikirabocho from his back. He slashed his sword across the enemy nin's chest, and he saw the Sharingan user close his eyes and fall limp, breathing weakly. He started cutting through the enemy, and then the second boy that had been with the blonde nin rushed in and started helping him, cutting through them quickly. When all that was left was Gato, Zabuza sped forward and bisected him, before he went back to see the black-haired kid picking the other one off the ground gently. He checked for a pulse and then sighed in relief, obviously finding one, before he looked up. Why did you help Naruto? Haku is like my daughter, and he defended her even if she was his enemy. The black-haired kid eyed him a moment, before his eyes darkened to black and he gently stood, trying to avoid jostling the injured man in his arms. He walked over to Kakashi and found the man awake, wrapping his leg in bandages. Kakashi froze as soon as he saw the unmoving form in Sasuke's arms. Naruto. Sasuke, what happened? We were fighting Zabuza, and then a band of thugs came and stabbed the girl, so Naruto rushed in to help her, but he used 2 energy-draining jutsus today, and he collapsed to his knee in chakra exhaustion. One of the thugs took this chance to wound him, but Zabuza stepped in and saved him before killing Gato. Naruto is unconscious. Let's get that wound wrapped. He heard a delicate voice speak, Zabuza-sama, can I heal him? Go ahead, Haku. He saved your life. The girl nodded and staggered over, before she placed her hands over the wound. They glowed green and the wound started healing together, until it was finished and Haku smiled, done. Naruto groaned and opened his eyes part way, looking at them blearily. His eyes opened further, and he blinked a few times, before focusing on Kakashi. Kakashi gasped as he saw the 2 red eyes looking at him. Naruto hadn't gotten a chance to deactivate the Sharingan before he passed out, and he was too groggy to notice right now. Sasuke looked at him and tapped right below his eye, and Naruto's eyes widened, before they darkened to navy blue again. He clutched his chest and sat up with a small groan of pain, before he found Zabuza and cocked his head. You helped me? Yes, Haku is like a daughter to me, and you saved her. Both Haku and Naruto's eyes widened, and then Naruto smiled. I see, well thank you, Mr. Zabuza. What are you going to do now? Don't you want to capture us? You helped me. I helped you. You broke Kakashi-sensei's leg, so it's up to him. I know that I can't chase you. Sasuke would put up a good chase and probably win with you weakened like this, but I don't see why. Sure, you tried to kill our client, but you're not anymore and are no longer considered a threat in my eyes. Zabuza blinked a few times. I see. Well, is there any way to join a village? Ha! Well, even though we're your enemies, you helped us, and I want to live in a village with people like that. I'll become a nin if you want and fight for Konoha. Naruto turned to his teacher, Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi thought a minute and then sighed. Yeah, we can try to get you as part of the village. Let's rest at Tazuna's until the bridge is complete and then we'll head home. We should be healed up by then if Haku helps. Naruto, we need to talk. Naruto sighed and turned. Yes, Kakashi-sensei? I think you know what. How do you have the Sharingan and even fully evolved? And I know they're natural because you can turn them off. Naruto sighed again. You're right. They're natural. Kakashi-sensei, you know how I died. Yes, you told me. Well, I have the soul of Indra Otsutsuki in me. He brought me back and he gave me his Sharingan. Kakashi's eyes widened. Why, you have the first Sharingan in existence. Yes, and all of Indra's memories. Please don't tell anyone. Only Sasuke knows. Kakashi was silent a moment. I will make that promise with one exception. Naruto looked uneasy. What is it? You tell Hokage-sama. He needs to know. Naruto sighed in relief. I was already going to do that, Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi nodded. All right. I think that you should at least tell Sakura of your eyes because she's your teammate, but that's your decision. I'll think on it, Kakashi-sensei. Good. Thank you. Naruto sighed as he finally arrived home from that mission. They had stayed another week and a half until the bridge was done, but then they'd come home. Sarutobi had allowed Zabuza and Haku in and was testing them in a week to see what rank they would be. They had a week off, though of course training didn't count. Kakashi had given them one say, but that was it. He opened his door and was immediately wary. He sensed someone else in his house, and he didn't recognize the chakra. His house was also clean, completely spotless. He crept in and heard humming from the kitchen, as well as the sound of water, and his eyes narrowed. He suddenly flipped out and threw a kunai, and he saw a blonde head of hair spin, and then duck behind counter with a shit. Whoever it was stayed there and he spoke. Who are you and why are you in my apartment? He heard a gasp and then a deep male voice. I'm going to slide my weapons pouch and kunai holster out, and then I'm going to stand. Please don't attack me. I can explain. Then do it. He heard movement and then a weapons pouch slid out, along with a kunai holster. A headband with the leaf symbol came next, and then a cloak that looked like the one the third had given him, except for the kanji for fourth Hokage on it. His eyes widened in shock as he saw the cloak, and his eyes fastened on where the man would be rising, filled with hope. This had to be a dream. Hands rose up, and then a blonde head, and then the rest of a tall broad body that faced him. He gasped as he saw the familiar features, and then activated his Sharingan to make sure this wasn't a henge or a genjutsu. It wasn't. The fourth Hokage stood in front of him, looking a bit worried at his lack of response so far. His eyes filled with tears and the kunai in his hand dropped to the ground. "Dad?" The man's eyes widened and Naruto threw himself forward. He hit the man in the chest and grabbed him tightly. "Is that really you, Dad? Please tell me this is real." Arms wrapped around him, supporting him and holding him tightly. "This is real. Kami sent me back so that you could have your father. She answered your wish." The arms tightened and Naruto felt wetness hitting his head as the man in his arms started shaking and his voice lowered to a cracked whisper. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that I wasn't here until now, Naruto. I wanted to be, oh God, I wanted to, but I couldn't. I'm so sorry for what's happened to you because of the fox." Naruto just hugged him tighter. "It's okay. It's okay, Dad. You're here now. I've wanted a father for so long. I always thought that you abandoned me, and now I know you didn't. I'm so glad that you're back, so glad." Minato gasped and then just held him tightly, letting him cry into his chest. He hadn't been there before. He sure as hell would now, even if it cost him his life again. His son needed him. When he was done, he pulled away and wiped his eyes. "Sorry about that. I haven't cried in years except about not having parents and to finally have my dad. It was too much." "No, don't apologize. I should be apologizing, not you. You're never too old to express your feelings, never." Naruto smiled weakly and his father smiled back. The younger blonde sniffled and then finally saw his dad's outfit and his eyes lit up in amusement. "Is that apron pink?" "Hey! It's light red. It's my favorite apron." Naruto chuckled, breaking the mood. "It's just, you're one of the most feared shinobi in the world, and you wear a pink apron." Minato pouted and crossed his arms. "So mean to me." Naruto smiled brightly. "Odd, just like me." "I like it." Minato looked startled for a minute, before he chuckled. "Yeah, all right. Now, I've been here for about a week and a half and I've hidden that I was here, because I wanted to surprise you. Unfortunately, I can't cook, so how about you change into something cleaner and we'll go get ramen from Ichiraku's." Naruto's face lit up, his weariness immediately gone. "Yeah. Right back." Then he was gone. Minato chuckled and finished wiping the counters down, which is what he'd been doing when his son had gotten home. The state of his apartment was deplorable. Empty ramen cups, trash, dirty clothes, and dust had been everywhere. The hot water didn't work, there was graffiti on the walls, the windows looked to have been replaced multiple times, and his bed was in the worst condition Minato could imagine. He'd, of course, gotten these faults fixed, and he planned on moving them both to Namake's cottage as soon as possible. His son wouldn't live like this while he was alive, that was for sure. He took off his apron that he'd gotten from his cottage and dried his hands, before he combed through his hair with his fingers to at least try and smooth it a little bit, but it, of course, didn't work. He grabbed the stuff he'd slipped out when Naruto had first gotten home and re-equipped himself with it, before he pulled the well-aimed kunai that had barely missed his head from the wall. He set it on the counter for Naruto when he came out and then slipped on his shoes and waited. He didn't have to wait long. Soon, Naruto came back out with a clean version of what he'd just been wearing and Minato noticed that his eyes were still red, and not from crying. His Sharingan were still activated. "Your eyes are still active." Naruto blushed and they turned navy blue again. "Sorry. It seems like they're not even activated because I don't notice the drain on my chakra, and I don't go blind with them. I did the same thing during the mission." That was a pain to explain to Kakashi-sensei. Minato chuckled as his son put his shoes on. "I see. Now, are we revealing me or waiting? Naruto froze for a minute. That's up to you, Dad. Do you want to get mobbed? Minato's face paled. No. So, a henge then, at least for now. I want to spend some time with you at least for a while, before I have anything to do with the people of this village. I'm not very happy with them right now. After seeing how they treated you, I'm actually quite disgusted. Naruto chuckled. A henge it is. Now, I'm hungry. Let's go. Minato smiled and put up a henge that changed his hair to the same length as Naruto's and completely black. His facial features altered slightly and his clothes changed to a regular Chunin outfit. With this done, they left, heading towards Ichiraku's. Minato watched with thinly veiled disgust at the angry, accusing glares cast at his son. He knew that Naruto felt them. The boy was as stiff as a board, but he studiously ignored them and kept going forward. The next time he saw a glare, he released some killer intent, and the villager paled and turned away quickly. He continued this the entire time they were walking, and he saw Naruto loosen up a small amount and give him a smile of thanks. They reached the ramen stand and Naruto smiled brightly. Hey old man Toochi. I've come for food. Toochi turned and smiled. My best customer. Hello, Naruto. How are you? First mission a success? Yeah. It was so cool, but really dangerous. It was actually a B-ranked mission, but we finished it. Toochi gasped. Already a B-ranked mission? My lord, boy. You sure attract a lot of attention. I bet it was that sunshine hair of yours that drew the assassins. He said this with a joking smile and Naruto pouted. Not my fault. I like my hair though. I bet my dad's was the same. Toochi chuckled and Minato saw a flash of sadness cross the old man's face. So this man knew of Naruto's parentage. The next words out of his mouth confirmed it, at least to Minato. I bet he did, Naruto. I bet he did. Minato smiled. Hello, my name is Erasure. I met Naruto a while ago, and he said this was the best place in town. It's nice to meet you. Toochi's eyes widened. He was one of the few that knew of Minato's old nickname during missions, due to him being a retired ANBU. He saw Arashi's eyes narrow in recognition, and then a quick wink confirmed his suspicions. Before Erasure spoke again, I'll have miso. What kind do you want, Naruto? Naruto smiled brightly. I want pork. Toochi smiled. Right up. You heard them, I am. Yup, Papa, sure did. Coming right up. Minato turned to Naruto and caught the boy's eyes. Before he leaned down, I know Toochi from when he was an ANBU. Naruto nodded as his confusion was cleared up, having caught the quick signals between his dad and the ramen cooker. I thought it was something like that. Makes sense. Now, let's eat. Ooh. There's Sasuke. Minato turned to see the black-haired Uchiha walking down the street. Naruto hopped up and forcefully dragged the boy over to the ramen stand, much to his indignant yelps. Naruto. Put me down. What the hell? Naruto smiled. I want you to come eat. I know that you can't cook worth crap. Besides, old man Toochi just perfected his tomato ramen. Sasuke's eyes lit up at the thought of tomatoes, and he allowed Naruto to drag him over. He was sat down on the other side of the young blonde and Naruto ordered some tomato ramen. Before he turned to Minato, Erasure, this is Sasuke. Sasuke, this is Erasure. Sasuke looked at him with narrowed eyes, but he held out his hand. Hello, my name's Erasure. I met Naruto a while ago and I saw him wandering, so I brought him to get food. Sasuke seemed to accept his excuse and shook his hand. Sasuke Uchiha. Minato narrowed his eyes in thought. He had done some exploring his old village for the past week and a half, with nothing else to do, and found some disturbing facts. One was the Uchiha massacre. He knew that Itachi had been forced to kill his clan by Danzo. The man had given the older Uchiha an ultimatum. Either he kill his family and Sasuke would live or Danzo would kill his family and Sasuke would die with the others. He still had the file he'd stolen, disgusted in the man's acts. He looked at Sasuke a moment. Can you come to Naruto's apartment after this and we can talk? Sasuke looked confused. Why? Naruto looked at his father in surprise. You want to tell him? That, and more. Naruto nodded and turned to Sasuke. Your eyes. Sasuke activated his eyes and looked at Erasure, and they widened in shock. Why Yonda dash? Naruto put a hand over his mouth quickly. Yeah, but we don't want people to know yet. Sasuke nodded and pulled his hand away, staring at the dead fourth Hokage in shock, able to see through the hinge with his eyes. He looked between them, and his eyes widened further as he saw the resemblance. Naruto nodded. If you come over, we'll explain. All right, I'll come over. I want answers. Naruto nodded again, and you'll get them. Now, here's our food. Their food was placed in front of them, and Sasuke looked down, hiding his eyes and deactivating them. They all ate their food quickly, and then they went to Naruto's apartment. Time for some secrets to be brought to light.